Hello, you're watching Explained in 10 at V3 Academy, a video series to explain development concepts in about 10 minutes. Today we're talking about contributing to open source software with a practical example. All software is created using source code. Source code is a collection of code, possibly with comments, written using a human readable programming language. What is open source? Software whose source code is available for any and all users to inspect, copy, modify, and use any way they choose. It can be used for personal projects or for commercial purposes. With open source software, the code is made publicly available along with the final executable program. Much of the internet is built on open source software, and many people are using open source without realizing it. Some popular ones are VLC, WordPress, Firefox, Linux, and React. And of course, there are countless others. What is closed source software? Software in which the source code can be modified by only the person, team, or organization who created it. They maintain exclusive control over the software. This type of software is also called proprietary software. Commercial softwares like this often has licensing that further prohibits people from using the source code. The code is not publicly available in proprietary software, which means you cannot see or modify the code. With open source, an experienced programmer can modify and customize open source applications. It's great for students as well, as they can learn how software is written and get some practice and reputation as a programmer. Open source software evolves by the contribution of many different developers and users. This is great because programmers, individuals, or companies can use the software to build other things without having to worry about licensing. There are issues with open source software though, since it's maintained by the community and there's no clear profit incentive to it, nor is there a defined way of shipping the product. Usually open source projects end up with many different versions. You also end up finding a lot of buggy and outdated open source projects online. Many people who build open source software are the same people who use them and want to make them better. Many companies hire programmers to use open source software customizable to their own needs, but then push this code back to the open source community. Many big for-profit companies like Google, Facebook, IBM also create open source software because they understand the value of crowdsourcing for code. You might wonder why you should contribute. You could contribute to improve the software you rely on, to possibly customize it in your own way for your own projects. Meet people with similar interests. Improve your own skills as a developer. You could find mentors and also teach online. You could also grow your reputation, and it could possibly help with your career. How can you contribute? Of course, you could modify and update the code in open source projects and contribute that way, although you don't necessarily need to contribute by writing code. You could contribute by planning the projects or events, putting together design guides or designing some assets for the project, organizing issues and tracking progress, or improving the project's documentation. There are many different types of open source licenses. Here's a list of some of them. If you want to read more about licenses, you can check out the links in the description below. There are multiple sites that allow you to search for open source projects that you could contribute to. Some have filters for language and experience level. The links are in the description below. Okay, how do you do this? Let's look at a practical way of looking for a project and contributing to it by creating a pull request on GitHub. If you don't know what Git or GitHub means, we'll be creating a video about it, so check it out when it's out. A big shout out to the creators and maintainers of opensource.guide. They have cool guides and resources about contributing to open source, starting an open source project, or getting paid for your open source work. The first step would be to look for an open source project that you can contribute to. The most recent open source project that I contributed to is covid19india.org. It's a site that displays the number of COVID-19 cases in the states of India. It's created and maintained by volunteers who contribute by gathering the data from sources, creating the UI, fixing bugs, and adding features. In this screen share, you can see the project on GitHub. Contributors are anyone who contribute to the project in any way. Maintainers are contributors who are responsible for driving the vision and managing the project. Usually, an open source project will contain these files at the top level. A license file. Every open source project must have this file. If it doesn't, it's not considered an open source project. README. That's usually the description of the project and how to get started. Contributing. In this project, they haven't created this file, but this document usually explains the type of contributions needed for this project and how the contribution process works. There's a checklist on the opensource.guide website, which you can do before you contribute. You can look at the issue tracker to see the number of closed and open issues, the type of issues there are, and also if there are contributors and discussions in the project. In the issue tracker section, you can filter by labels like good for first timers, bugs, enhancements, etc. Every project has their own labels. You can look at pull requests to get an idea about how actively changes are getting merged in the project. Identify an issue you want to contribute to. Once you do, make sure that no one else has already or is already working on it. You can then fork the project. A fork is a copy of a repository. Forking a repository allows you to freely experiment with changes without affecting the original project. After you fork it, you can clone it to your local machine. Then you can open up your text editor, look around the structure, and get a sense of how the project is organized. Locate the areas in which you need to make your changes and then make them in order to fix the issues or add the features that you decided to work on. For the purposes of keeping this video concise and language agnostic, we're skipping over the actual implementation details and the details of the issue that was solved. Once you've successfully fixed the issue or implemented the feature, you should test it out on your local machine. It's also a good idea to see the lines of code you have changed before you commit. Most IDEs have a way to check your changes. Then you can add and commit your changes. Once all your commits have been made, you can push the code back up to the branch on your fork of the project. Navigate back to the project on GitHub and create a new pull request. Pull requests let you tell others about changes you have pushed to a GitHub repository. Once a pull request is sent, interested parties can review the changes, discuss potential modifications, and even push follow-up commits if necessary. In this case, the pull request will be from the forked project master branch to the master branch on the main project. GitHub, in this case, will automatically check if the branches can be merged. If there are any conflicts, you will need to fix them manually by doing a merge commit or rebasing. You can also see the commits in this pull request and the files that were changed. The changes made in the files are highlighted per line. After you create the pull request, this section is where other users can comment or commit to if there is a fix. You can make a reference to the issue you solved in the description of the pull request. It's a good idea to name the pull request appropriately and write a good description for it. It allows for any maintainers or contributors to understand what changes were made in this pull request that you created and which issue this PR addresses. After the concerned maintainers review this, they will either accept or comment on this to make any changes. If they accept, they'll merge your code and you can see the changes on the live site. And that's it. You've done it. You've contributed to an open source project. We hope this gives you a better understanding of what open source is and how to find and contribute to a project. Which open source project are you thinking of contributing to? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching Explained in 10. You can subscribe to the V3 Academy channel to stay updated as we cover some more core concepts of web development. If you want to know about something specific, let us know in the comments below. Stay tuned and stay safe.